Hello everybody, and thank you for coming. Welcome to this learning forum of the Industry Dialogue and the Global Network Initiative. And let me start by giving my big thanks to the Geneva Internet platform for hosting this event and making this possible. Thank you. So my name is Milka Pietikäinen and I'm currently chairing the Industry Dialogue. I'm just going to start by telling you a little bit about our group. The Telecom Industry Dialogue on Freedom of Expression and Privacy started to work together in 2011 on very much working on the implementation of the UN Guiding Principles on business and human rights as they relate to the telecommunications sector and the specific issues of freedom of expression and privacy. The companies, we have currently 9 member companies. We have most of them present here today. We have Annette Ferguson from Vodafone. I'm just going to try to see who I can see in the room. Yves Nissim from Orange. We have François Bach from Orange. We have Paloma Villamateo from Telefonica. And we have Laura Okkonen from Nokia. Our colleagues from Telenor, TeliaSonera, and AT&T participated in the similar event in California earlier in November. The Industry Dialogue officially launched in March 2013 when we published our guiding principles for the sector on these specific issues, and where we also announced a partnership with the Global Network Initiative to work together on these issues on a wider scope of ICTs. And I would say that this almost now 2 years of collaboration with the Global Network Initiative has very much helped the Industry Dialogue to mature, and it has very much helped us to build strong stakeholder relations with a number of different stakeholders, civil society, academia, but also continuing our discussions with governments on these issues. And this type of learning forum is one way for us to communicate with a wide group of stakeholders about the progress and the discussions that we're having. But surely our interactions are not limited to this type of forum, but we meet at the moment quarterly, face-to-face as a group, and as for the past 3 quarters we've also included specific stakeholder meetings as part of these face-to-face meetings. But on the topic of today, which is transparency, sits very much at the heart of what the Industry Dialogue is doing, because it very much sits at the crossroad of government duty to protect human rights and the business responsibility to respect human rights. I think all of the Industry Dialogue companies recognize that while governments are the only ones who can give the full picture of the extent and methods of surveillance, there is a lot that companies can also do to advance the understanding of these issues. Until now, 3 of the Industry Dialogue companies have published so-called transparency reports, which have included information about the numbers of requests that they receive for metadata and interception. And as part of the principles of the Industry Dialogue, all the member companies have committed to publicly report on their progress of implementing these principles. And all the companies who were members for the full year of 2013 did so as part of their sustainability reports for that year. And all member companies are planning to do that also going forward. And I think going forward, at least I can speak on the behalf of my company, Millicom, we're doing our best to increase the transparency each year. And I would just like to finish by saying that I think transparency, I hope we were able to discuss here transparency as a much wider topic than numbers of requests. It's very much about the policies and the processes that companies implement, and again very much about how those policies and processes are applied in real life situations and in real life challenges. And I wish we can have I wish that you will ask very direct questions, anything that is unclear to you, and we can clarify things about our operating environment, challenges, etc. Because I truly believe that, and it's been my experience working with these issues for a few years now, is that more openly we are able to share about the realities that each of us face and the viewpoints that we come from to this issue, more we're able to then work on constructive solutions. So I'm really looking forward to this afternoon and hearing from my two colleagues here. Mark.
Thank you very much, Milka. I'm Mark Stevens I'm the independent chair of the Global Network Initiative. And Jovan, I wanted to just say thank you to you. And for us, our last event was in Brussels, which of course is the home of the EU, and of course we've moved on up to the home of the UN, I suppose. So perhaps that's a sign of the times and the sign of the importance. And to be here at the time of the Geneva meeting of the UN Forum for Business and Human Rights, I think is highly apposite, and it really does give us the opportunity to move forward. And to move forward in an environment which you provide through the Geneva Internet platform for open and transparent debate around topics of real importance, I think is critical. Now many in the room won't be familiar with either the industry dialogue, which Milka has just spoken of, or the organisation which I chair, the Global Network Initiative. Some of you are, I know, and so I would ask those that are familiar just to bear with me while I set out what GNI is and what it does. GNI brings together ICT companies with civil society organisations, investors and academics to forge a common approach to protecting and advancing free expression and privacy. GNI developed a set of principles and implementation guidelines to guide responsible companies, responsible governments and responsible civil society and how they should react to requests from government around the world where those requests could impact on freedom of expression online or indeed on privacy. And so it's, I think, the privacy rights of users. So it's increasingly something that we need to work together on. The traditional telcos are facing, and have done over the past 2 years, increasingly the same issues which other companies in the ICT sector include. Our membership includes companies like Google, Microsoft, Yahoo, Facebook, LinkedIn, Procera Networks, those kinds of organizations. And it seems to me that at this time when we have very contentious global debates about privacy and surveillance since the Snowden revelations, and also we've got a few proposed reforms that are coming forward both from government and from the other side. The consensus is around the fact that transparency is the touchstone. Transparency is what is going to give confidence to all that's concerned. And although I think the devil remains in the detail of that, I think we do need to increase transparency around the requests that governments make of companies to hand over personal data, or in some cases to restrict content online. And it's one of those points on which I think governments, companies and civil society at least somewhat agree. And everyone agrees also that transparency is necessary to some degree or another in order to support an informed debate on whether domestic laws are being appropriately implemented and the protections are properly in place. And that call for transparency was echoed by the former UN High Commissioner on Human Rights, Navi Pillai, and I know that somebody from her office is here today with the paper Right to Privacy in the Digital Age. So we at GNI think that the time has come for more specific discussion of the transparency expectations and responsibilities around governments. We've come forward with some suggestions about how that might work, about transparency reporting in numbers and how governments should make publicly available not only the laws and legal interpretations of the information that they're requesting and authorising of intercepts, etc., but also the numbers that are being taken and the number of people who are impacted with those requests. So with that, I think I look forward to an exciting and robust debate today, open and candid conversation, and hopefully questions, comments and insights from everybody here, because everybody's got something to contribute. Over to you. Thank you, Yoga.
Thank you, Milka and Mark. It's great to have you today here with us at the Geneva Internet Platform. And what two of you just indicated is excellent context for our discussion. And on behalf of the GIP, Geneva Internet Platform, which I will explain what we are doing in a few minutes, I would like to acknowledge great discovery that we had during this process of preparing the event of discovering, in a way, GNI and telecommunication industry dialogue as set up an institution that share with the GIP the main approach of engagement of different actors and also addressing the question of overcoming policy silos. And throughout our discussion, I will try to focus on that element, because we have been discovering more and more that policy is done in a suboptimal way by the fact that issues are addressed in different policy silos. 2 weeks ago in this very room, we had an interesting session on data protection and privacy with 5 chairs and 5 representatives. 1 chair wasn't filled. We have a person from the human rights community, from Privacy International, diplomatic, standardization, IETF, and we miss security person, because it is important to hear the arguments of the security community. And that discussion was really enriching in the way of bridging identifying the miscommunication between different policy communities and need to engage. Therefore, the discovery of the GNI and your efforts is really refreshing and provides the hope that we'll move into more effective policy making. Now, while we're discussing incidentally, we have 3 parallel events on different locations. In Belgrade, we have a meeting with the generals and security people from the Balkans region, discussing, among other things, data protection and privacy. And I was on Skype chat this morning, and it was interesting to see how to adjust to different language and focus. And our colleague is in Beijing, Dr. Alex Shibera-Strigone, discussing the question of digital Silk Road. As you know, the Chinese government is pushing heavily on Silk Road. Therefore, these are 3 interesting events from the different policy communities. Now, briefly about Geneva Internet Platform. It was established by government of Switzerland and it's operated by Diplo, with the main aim to overcome, to make more inclusive and effective policy making in Geneva. Here are some of our partners, including African Union, Canton, Internet Society, GCSP, and other players. You can see them on the list. What we've been trying to do is basically to discuss these stations on the subway map, where you have a different policy issue like net neutrality, addressed from infrastructure, legal, socio-culture, economic development, human rights, and cybersecurity line. This is in a way summary, graphical summary of what we have been trying to do at Geneva Internet Platform. According to the study that we did 3 years ago, close to 52% of internet governance issues are addressed in Geneva, within the radius of about 5 kilometers. If you go to the roof, the attic of this building, you can see even visually those institutions, which is the UN, which is addressing the human rights issues and other issues, WTO, International Standardization Organization, WIPO, ITU, ILO, and other players. ISOC and ICANN with the new office in Geneva. With this very vibrant scene and relevant for internet governance issues. Last week we had the Geneva Internet Conference, again with the main focus on overcoming policy silos. 2 quite interesting panels bringing international organizations, deputy heads of the human rights, telecommunication, and other organizations. Platform is aiming at engaging digital actors, fostering digital governance, monitoring digital policies through activities in Geneva, online activities, and digital lab. One of the main challenge of the platform so far has been to help small missions to cover internet and digital policy issues. We're speaking about missions with 3 to 4 diplomats, which are majority in Geneva, which are almost Renaissance diplomats. They start in the morning with humanitarian issues, move in the late morning to trade issues. In the afternoon, they switch to the cyber security, and then end up the day with intellectual property. Those people are really Renaissance diplomats. Therefore, this was the main aim, and I'm sure that there are some of them here in our room. We do the training for them on just-in-time training. Therefore, the training is done in the way that we use the backbone, the policy process, and then we add the academic knowledge. There will be training on online privacy and cybersecurity in 2015. The platform is also fostering, bridging interplay among the policy silos, finding very often the question of the complexity of communication between different policy cultures. On one side, let's say technical culture and more diplomatic culture, and difference in connecting 2 dots between these 2 cultures. It's a fascinating experience. Now, what could be interesting for our discussion today? We, in a way, in analysis of agendas of different players for the next year, we notice that there will be the interplay between cybersecurity, business innovation models, and human rights will be high on the agenda for the 2015. The Hague conference, the follow-up to London-Seoul line, will focus exactly on this interplay between cybersecurity, human rights, and business issues. Therefore, just we should put it on our policy radars, this interplay among these three fields. Platform is trying to provide the context. What is very often missing is a context for policy debate. Context which is relevant for you, representing business community, but also diplomats, human rights activists, and other players. Well, I would like to invite you to join the platform as a partner, participate in our activities, bring new ideas. For our discussion today, I choose this summary of dilemmas that you face in business community, diplomats face in their activities, governments, civil society face very often. This is the interplay between transparency, translucency, and secrecy. And that's the key dilemma, especially obviously between transparency and translucency. Transparency is the main focus, but as I will try to bring during our discussion, there are sometimes justifiable contexts in which translucency has to be acknowledged. And this is one of the 10 Geneva messages from our conference, summarized: aim for full transparency, accept exceptional translucency. As one of our colleagues and the participants in this session said during the conference, you indicated that we have to be transparent when we cannot be transparent. And with that, I would like to close this intro remark.
Thank you very much. Maybe I see the picture of the election of the Pope. Maybe we'll get some white smoke at the end of the day today. With that, I think we need to call up the first panel, don't we?
That's it.
Okay. Thanks.